Hello and welcome back to our study of the Bible. We're starting a new one. We're calling this one the Latter Prophets. And that just means that they came later than the other ones. Not that they're less important. People used to call them the major prophets and the minor prophets. And that was just based purely on the size of the book. Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Isaiah are just big books. They're just huge. Lots of chapters, and these later ones, are smaller in size. And this Daniel's only about 12 chapters versus 66 for Isaiah. So these are going to go off quite a lot faster, but I'm excited. They're just as important. And there's some gems hidden in here we're looking forward to getting into. So let's start with Daniel chapter 1. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. So with Daniel, you may or may not be familiar with this, but Daniel, he will get a lot of his prophecy done in exile. The exile's about to happen here, chronologically speaking, and we're going to take over from there. And Daniel actually goes through several kings in exile. Pretty exciting. And then he gets some pretty serious prophecies. There's some storyline in there too that we're very familiar with as the church. So anyway, and we've read through these kings. Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and we know Nebuchadnezzar comes to besiege it. The Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with some of the vessels of the house of God, and he carried them into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. He brought the vessels into the treasures of the house of his God. Shinar, Babylon, there are some cities there. Obviously, the vessels, these were utensils for the sacrificial offering. These were gold or bronze, things like that. Other things that were used in sacrifice to God were taken away from the temple, and God allowed it because of Israel's negligence. Refusing to serve God, worshiping other gods. Verse 3, the king spoke to Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, and that he should bring in some of the children of Israel, even of the royal offspring, and of the nobles, youths in whom was no defect, but well-favored, skillful in wisdom, endowed with knowledge, understanding science, and who had the ability to stand in the king's palace, and that he should teach them the learning and the language of the Chaldeans. The king appointed for them a daily portion of the king's delicacies and of the wine which he drank, and that they should be nourished 3 years, and at the end they should stand before the king. So these youths are perhaps royal offspring, not maybe the king's firstborn son next in line for the throne, but he had many sons maybe, or higher up people. So that should be interesting to see. We know Daniel's going to be one of these, so he is obviously of important descent. Now, among these children of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Those are all their names given in Israel. The prince of the eunuchs gave the names to them. To Daniel he gave the name Belteshazzar. To Hananiah, Shadrach, to Mishael, Meshach, and to Azariah, Abednego. Now, just a little thing there. Notice there is a D, Abednego, not Abednego. Let's get that in the right place. Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he made a request of the prince of the eunuchs that he may not defile himself. So this word prince is going to come in handy for us. It may also be translated chief of the eunuchs. And we're going to see what Daniel becomes the chief of at some point. So that word is actually rab, meaning great one, chief, leader, head, etc. Now God made Daniel find kindness and compassion in the sight of the prince of the eunuchs. He doesn't want to eat the king's delicacies. He wants to stick with the diet he knows he's supposed to have as a good Israelite. They just got in trouble for forsaking God's law, and now they're in exile, so it's like, maybe we should pick that up again. Don't know, Daniel as an individual may have been faithful all along, but the nation wasn't. The prince of eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear the Lord, the king, who has appointed your food and drink. Why should he see your faces looking worse than the youths who are your own age? Then you would endanger my head with the king. So look, I don't want to make waves here. I want you to be just as healthy as everybody else. It's my neck on the line if you don't. Verse 11, Then Daniel said to the steward, whom the prince of the eunuchs had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Test your servants, I beg you, 10 days. Let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our faces be examined before you, and the face of the youths who eat the king's delicacies. And as you see, deal with your servants. So he listened to them in the matter and tested them for 10 days. Look, if we eat vegetables and drink water only, and we look better than anybody else, keep us on that diet. Otherwise, we'll do what you say. And Daniel is trusting that God will allow them to look better and be healthier on God's diet rather than the king's delicacies, which would have included stuff surely that they would not have been able to eat. At the end of 10 days, their faces appeared fairer, and they were fatter in flesh than all the youths who ate the king's delicacies. So the steward took away their delicacies and the wine which they were given to drink, and gave them vegetables. Now, as for these 4 youths, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all the visions and dreams. So, they look better, they're healthier. The steward's like, wow, I'm impressed. You look way better than the other guys. We're going to keep you doing what you're doing. So God blesses Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and allows them to continue to be faithful to him in the food that they know they're supposed to eat. Now, of these 4 youths, God gave them knowledge and skill and learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. This is an incredible gift. God doesn't have to do this, but God is prospering them, and I think it's because of their faithfulness. They've chosen to be faithful to God, and so God is elevating them in this foreign land. He's giving them knowledge and skills, wisdom and learning above all the other candidates from all over the known world. And not only that, Daniel can understand visions and dreams, and this is going to come in handy. God isn't just giving it to him like, hey, there you go. People will tell you their dreams, and you'll be like, this is what it means, and everybody will love you. God is going to use this gift to make his name known, even among the exiled, even among the nation that they are exiled to. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. And it's the same for us. God gives us gifts, whatever you're gifted at, isn't really for your own benefit, but it's to bring God glory where you go. That's how you should be using your gifts. If you're not, start doing it. Think, what am I good at, and how can I use that for God's kingdom? Verse 18, at the end of the days which the king had appointed to bring them in, that was 3 years, by the way, the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and among all of them was found no one like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they stood before the king in every matter of wisdom and understanding concerning the king, which the king inquired of them. And he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters who were in all of his realm. Daniel continued even to the 1st year of King Cyrus. So right now it's Nebuchadnezzar, and Daniel's going to continue being this man for the king who's going to interpret dreams and do all the things all the way through Cyrus. And I want to point out something here. This is a foretelling of what's to come in a few chapters, but Daniel is better than all the magicians. That word is the same as the word for magi. So this is where they came from. Pretty incredible. The magi came from the east. This word is the same word, or the origin in Greek when it uses magi in the New Testament, it's the same word here, comes from the Hebrew that is used here in Daniel. So pretty cool. Daniel is one of the magi in Babylon. Well, great chapter. Looking forward to more of this story. This is a pretty famous story, how God blessed them and prospered them and is going to use them to make his name known. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you next time.